The camp was farther than it looked. Smoke rose in slow, disciplined plumes, curling upward into the leaden sky like whispers that refused to be silenced. By the time Alex and May reached the outermost ruins, night had begun its quiet descent. The air grew colder, sharper, each breath clouding before their faces. The last orange tinge of sunlight flickered off broken glass and rebar, painting the buildings in blood and bronze. Their boots crunched on old gravel and bone. Somewhere nearby, a crow cawed once and took flight. A charred doll lay abandoned in the gutter, its one remaining eye gleaming like accusation. They didn't speak. Their breath came shallow, teeth clenched against the ache and the anxiety. Alex's shoulder pulsed with heat and pain, a dull throb syncing with his heartbeat. May clutched the machete now, both hands wrapped tight around the hilt, knuckles white. She didn't feel the cold anymore, just the electric buzz of fear beneath her skin. The first sign of the camp wasn't a guard or a wall. It was music, a radio, crackling faintly through static. Something old, a woman's voice, soft and ghostly, singing about blue skies and sunny days. It felt like a memory from another planet. Alex stopped in his tracks. May did too. He felt her hand brush his, not gripping, just anchoring. Alex's mind raced. Music meant electricity, order, people, but it also meant attention, control. Someone was choosing what they heard, and who got to hear it. May stared at the faint glow ahead. Her chest was tight. The closer they came, the more the air changed. Wood smoke, diesel fumes, old stew. Not rancid, not rot, human smells. Her stomach growled involuntarily. A barricade loomed, just beyond a ring of burned-out street lamps. Rusted cars and scrap metal fused together like a forgotten sculpture. Barbed wire laced across the top, sagging in some places, taut in others. Then the spotlight snapped on. Bright, blinding. Hands up! The voice came from above, sharp, female, practiced. A tower, someone with night vision and nerves of steel. Alex winced as he raised one arm. The other stayed pressed against his wound. May hesitated, then mirrored him. The spotlight was a white sun that burned away every shadow. "We're not infected," Alex called, voice hoarse, just trying to make it through. His mind tensed for the sound of a shot, instead silence, then step forward. Slow. Each footfall felt like a gamble. May's eyes flicked from shadow to shadow, expecting a bullet, a trap, a scream. Alex kept his breathing steady, or tried to. He noticed the quiet hum of a generator, the distant clatter of metal on metal, the unmistakable smell of bleach and oil. Figures emerged from behind sandbags and corrugated steel. Uniforms mismatched, some military, others scavenged. But the rifles were clean, precise, not a scavenger gang. Organized. A man stepped forward, mid-50s, maybe older. Gray beard, tight jaw, bulletproof vest patched with duct tape and resolve. His eyes scanned them with practiced detachment. "You got names?" "Alex," he said. Voice dry. The girl spoke softer. "May." The man nodded. "This is Camp Winter." His tone was flat, almost sardonic. "You're late to the end of the world." The gate clanged shut behind them. Steel meeting steel with the weight of finality. May jumped at the sound, clutch tightening on the machete she hadn't yet been told to surrender. Alex gave her a slight shake of his head. "Not yet. Let them come to you. Inside." Camp Winter wasn't what either of them expected. The scent hit first. Burned wood, boiled beans, diesel fuel, and sweat. Not the acrid, rotting stench of the outer world. This was order. Rough order, but order nonetheless. The air hummed with motion. Not chaos, but rhythm. People moved with purpose. Boots crunching gravel, shovels scraping dirt. Low murmurs drifting like smoke through the frigid air. Flood lamps dangled from chains, casting swaying light across makeshift structures and repurposed tents. Some buildings were stacked shipping containers. Others lean-tos braced with broken signage and wire mesh. Tarps flapped like tired lungs. Alex's gaze swept across the faces that turned toward them. Dozens of them. Workers, guards, medics, scavengers, all staring. No one smiled. The eyes that watched were pale with exhaustion or dark with suspicion. A teenage girl paused mid-sweep of a courtyard, her broom frozen over a pile of ash. A man with a soldering torch lifted his goggles, gaze flat and unreadable. At the far end, a woman in a stained parka pushed a wheelbarrow filled with tin cans. She didn't stop, but she looked. Everyone looked. Alex felt it settle in his bones, that slow, coiling tension of being the outsider again. The sick, the wounded, the maybe bitten. May stayed close, her eyes darting to every corner. She hated the scrutiny, hated how they all seemed to catalog her, with the same glance they gave Alex. Threat, burden, unknown. A short, broad-shouldered man approached. His beard was wiry, graying at the chin, and he wore a jacket patched with mismatched logos. Police, fire department, National Guard, the patchwork of 1,000 collapses. He walked with a limp and a clipboard. Names again? He asked, voice gravel. Alex, May, he scribbled. Wound? Alex nodded. Bit, not deep. Cauterized. Fever broke yesterday. Still got it? Yeah. The man nodded to a woman nearby, tall, pale, and all edges. She carried a shotgun like most people carried a handbag. Her name tag said Keller. She stepped in close. Too close. Hold out your arm, she said. Alex did. Her fingers were cold and quick, peeling back the bandage, examining the edges of the wound. It looked better, still angry, but not black, not veined. You turn, she said. We don't hesitate. I wouldn't either, Alex said, voice flat. She gave him a long look, then moved on. The clipboard man, someone finally called him Griggs, gestured them forward. This way. You'll bunk in Sector 3 for now. Quarantine tier. Don't touch the fences, don't wander. Meals are rationed. If you want to stay, you'll work. What kind of work? May asked. Griggs didn't stop walking. Whatever we need. Dismantling junk, fixing pipe, watching the walls. We'll find something for you. Girl. Her jaw clenched, but she said nothing. They passed through rows of campfires inside steel drums, where groups huddled around warmth. Some cooked, some just stared. Kids too young to know better clung to wool blankets. Older ones cleaned rifles under the eyes of thin, silent adults. A woman rocked back and forth near a burned-out RV, whispering to a doll wrapped in duct tape. May looked away. Why do they all look at us like that? She whispered. Because they've all lost someone, Alex said, eyes scanning. And we look like the reason why. He wasn't wrong. They were led to a shipping container painted with a red 3 and peeling spray paint. A curtain had been strung across the front, privacy, not protection. Inside, 2 cots, 1 light bulb, a metal basin. A single shelf bolted to the wall. It might as well have been a palace. Griggs handed them a dented thermos and a folded blanket. Don't cause trouble, he said, and try not to die. Then he was gone. Alex sat on the lower cot, exhaling slowly. His shoulder burned again, not like fire. Like memory, May crouched by the basin, pouring a little water into her cupped hands. She stared at her reflection. Mud-streaked cheeks, cracked lips, wide eyes rimmed in red. I don't know if we should stay, she said softly. Alex closed his eyes. I don't know if we should leave. Outside, a siren whooped once, just one long, hollow note. Then silence returned, and the eyes of Camp Winter kept watching. The sun never truly rose in Camp Winter. Gray light filtered through torn tarps and patched poly sheets that hung like faded sails between the camp's scaffolds. Fires smoldered in oil drums at regular intervals, more for comfort than necessity. Above them, the skeletal remains of an overpass loomed, its underside converted into a crude roof sheltering the camp's core. Netting, wires, and welded scrap created a fragile-looking second skin between concrete and steel. It was organized in a way, intentional, but not welcoming. Alex woke to the sounds of clanging pots and muttered curses. He sat up slowly on the cot they'd been assigned, a rigid metal frame draped with military blankets. His shoulder screamed as he moved. The bite still oozed a little, but the color hadn't turned. Yet. May sat cross-legged near the fire pit, stirring something in a dented tin cup, with the end of a screwdriver. It's not coffee, she muttered without turning. But it's warm. He took it, sipped. It tasted like boiled leather and something bitter. But it was heat, and that mattered. Around them, the camp stirred. A woman hauled crates of tangled wires past a makeshift armory. 2 men in mismatched armor inspected an old generator, arguing in hushed tones about a broken capacitor. Children, maybe 6 or 7 of them, tugged at a clothesline strung between 2 gutted SUVs, giggling at frozen laundry that cracked like glass in the cold. Alex scanned faces. Most didn't look at them. Those who did didn't smile. Don't trust us yet, he thought. Maybe never will. May finally broke the silence. They're scared of us. They should be, he said softly. We made it this far. That either means we're lucky or dangerous. She stared at the camp's perimeter wall, a jagged ring of crushed vehicles, rebar and reinforced mesh. Guards patrolled it constantly, not many, just enough to make a statement. A wiry man approached them, thin, bald, with eyes that looked like they hadn't blinked since the fall. His patchy coat bore the symbol of Camp Winter, a snowflake etched over a gear. Names again? he asked flatly. Alex. May, Alex answered. We do rolls twice a day. Food's rationed. If you want more, you work. You don't fight. You don't steal. You don't leave after curfew. You sleep in the green zone, not the red. You break the line, you're out. Or worse, Alex nodded once. We get it. The man's eyes lingered a second too long. You say you're not infected? That wound gonna turn on us? May shifted slightly. Her fingers drifted toward the blade she'd hidden in her coat. It won't, Alex said. The man stared, then moved on without a word. May exhaled. He didn't blink. Did you notice that? Yeah, Alex murmured. I noticed. They spent the morning sweeping gravel from walkways and scrubbing old food bins. Menial, tedious, but they watched, learned. There was an order here. Not just survival, structure. A council of 4 decided most things, led by a woman named Rhea. She wore a red parka lined with fake fur and spoke like someone who used to command boardrooms. Her second in command was a former paramedic. Third was an engineer who rarely spoke. The fourth had once been a gang leader and still had the tattoos. By midday, May had already mapped the guard patterns. Alex had counted every rifle. The paranoia wasn't just theirs. It was baked into the bones of this place. That night, they were invited to the mess tent. Rhea sat at the head of the long table, her eyes sharp. You two planning on staying long? We go where it's safe. Alex answered. This place isn't, she said. Nowhere is, but we manage. Because we don't let rot set in, May met her gaze. We're not rot. Rhea took a long moment before nodding. We'll see. Later, as they walked back toward their tent, the cold hit hard again. Alex looked at the shadows between barrels, at the shape of every patrol, at how many exits were locked, May whispered. They're watching us from more than just the wall. He nodded. Yeah, feels like we just walked into something with teeth. Above them, the stars were thin and flickering. The firelight didn't reach far, and Camp Winter watched them back. The next day in Camp Winter dawned without ceremony. No sunburst, no chorus of birds, just gray. Gray light filtering through tarp seams and frostbitten plastic. A low mist clung to the ground like the camp was exhaling its own unease. The wind carried the scent of boiled grain, wet wood, and distant metal shavings. Alex stirred slowly, every muscle stiff from a night on the cot. He blinked blearily at the corrugated ceiling of their shipping container. May was already up, crouched at the edge of the doorway, chewing quietly on a crust of bread as she watched the camp wake. A bell clanged once, metal against metal, signaling morning assignments. People began moving like ants shaken from a nest. Men and women in patchwork coats hauled sacks of wire and tools across the compound. A group of kids with frozen cheeks and heavy boots were led away toward the north gate, their small hands clutching baskets meant for scavenging. Alex sat up, arm pressing instinctively to his shoulder. It still ached, but not as bad. He rotated it gently, flinching. Another day in paradise. May didn't smile. They don't look at us like people. More like spare parts. He nodded. That feeling hadn't left since the gates clanged shut. An older woman named Callie assigned them to sort copper wiring from junk electronics. The task took place in what used to be the back half of a garage, now roofed over with scavenged plastic siding and littered with gutted radios, stripped televisions, and heaps of dead batteries. Sort by color and purity. Callie rasped through a mouthful of cracked teeth. Don't breathe too deep. The mold's real. The scent was unmistakable. Old insulation, oxidized metal, mildew. May tied a scarf over her face. Alex didn't have one, so he endured. They worked in silence. May's hands were quick, her mind sharper. She muttered about the burn marks on a circuit board, how it might have caught fire long before the collapse. Alex caught himself staring at the doorways, at the dark corners, at the silent passing glances of other camp workers. One man walked by 6 times, never spoke, just looked. Around midday, the sky darkened briefly, not with clouds, but with movement. A scavenging convoy returned. 6 trucks limping into the compound through the south entrance. The horn blared twice. Camp rules meant everyone paused and watched. They always did. A large tarp-covered bundle was unloaded from the lead truck. No one explained what it was. Not even when someone whispered, "Is that a generator?" Later, Alex and May passed by the tarp, now inside a gated lean-to near the main tower. No one stood guard, but a camera blinked overhead, watching. "Think it's worth sneaking a look?" May asked. Alex shook his head. Not yet. Not when eyes are still this sharp. Dinner was a thick stew of lentils and powdered broth. They ate beside 2 other newcomers, a teenage boy named Juno and a one-armed woman who called herself Rain. Neither spoke much. Juno looked terrified. Rain just watched everyone with the careful gaze of someone who'd survived betrayal. Afterward, they helped sweep out a storage tent. In the back corner, May found a strange marking etched into the fabric, a spiral. She froze. Alex, he crouched beside her. It's fresh, not cut, drawn. No one else had noticed. Not yet. May's stomach turned. Do you think? I don't know. He stood slowly, eyes sweeping the camp perimeter. But something here's off. It's not just fear. It's like they're waiting for something. Or someone. That night, as they returned to their cot, they passed by a new tent near Sector 4. Light flickered inside. Through a slit in the canvas, they glimpsed a group of adults standing around a table, chanting softly. May's grip on his sleeve tightened. We need to leave soon. I feel like we're inside something that doesn't want us to understand it. We will, Alex said, voice low. But not before we know what it is. And behind them, unseen in the shadows, someone watched the whole exchange with eyes that didn't blink. Alex's breath fogged in the early morning air as he tightened the fraying strap on his shoulder pack. The cold clung to everything in Camp Winter, turning breath into vapor and wood into creaking complaint. He glanced at May. Her arms were crossed, lips pale. They hadn't spoken much since waking, but the tension between them and the camp was louder than anything spoken aloud. Today, for the first time, they were assigned separate duties. Alex, barked a woman in a stitched-together parka, report to comms shack. East wall. May, you're with the cook tent. Alex opened his mouth to protest, but May's fingers brushed his wrist briefly, squeezing. It's fine, she whispered. We'll meet back after. The parting felt wrong, a severing. He watched her walk off down the muddy corridor between makeshift tents and patched-together fencing, boots sinking with each step. He turned. The communications shack squatted near the perimeter, a squat, metal-sided trailer wrapped in cables and thick with the hum of generators. Inside, the air was warm and metallic, smelling of solder, dust, and dried sweat. A man hunched over a bank of cracked monitors. Elias, they called him. Gaunt, wide-eyed, muttering to himself. They're almost here, Elias said. Not looking up, Alex hovered, unsure. Who? Elias tapped a radio dial, his long fingers trembling. Not who. When Alex's task was simple. Log frequencies, check for patterns. But what he heard didn't sound like SOS calls or survivor chatter. It was static, repeating tones, whispered sequences that almost sounded like speech. They aren't calling for help, Elias whispered. They're signaling each other. They know we're listening. But we have to listen. The signal must stay pure. Alex tried not to look. At the scrap of paper pinned beside the tuner, covered in symbols, spirals, and a date 4 days from now. May's boots squelched as she stepped into the cook tent. The air inside was heavy with spice and antiseptic. Corinne, the head cook, greeted her with a lopsided smile and bloodshot eyes. Stir that pot. And don't touch batch 6. May raised an eyebrow. Why? Corinne leaned in. Because you're new, still clean. She said it like it mattered. May stirred quietly, glancing around. The back of the tent was curtained off. Every so often someone came through, dropped off bags or carried out trays, all without a word. A girl around May's age stared from across the fire, face blank. Before May could wave, a medic appeared, touching the girl's shoulder. She was led away. Later, behind the tent, May found a crate marked non-essential. Inside were shoes, dozens, all small, all worn. They reunited by the barracks fire that evening, their breaths fogging as they spoke in low, hurried tones. They're not searching for survivors, Alex said. They're scanning frequencies, looking for something else, something coded. May's eyes were wide. The cook, Corinne. She told me not to eat from batch 6, said I was still clean. And the crate Alex, there were children's shoes. They sat in silence. I think we need to go, she said. Alex didn't argue. Not right away. We're not ready. We need supplies, maybe weapons. She stared into the fire. What if we're not ready for what they are? He didn't have an answer. That night, long after the fires had burned low, strange music drifted through the slats in the barracks walls. Humming low, rhythmic, almost melodic, Alex and May sat upright. Peering out, they saw the people, hooded, gathered near the chapel tent. They stood in silence. A symbol was drawn in ash on the dirt, spiraling, precise. One figure turned, pale face, eyes glowing faintly in the firelight, locked eyes with Alex. Then, with a wave of the hand, the flame was extinguished. Darkness fell.